What's going on? What's going on? Good people, peace and blessings. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless, and we back with a new video. You know what I'm saying? And the title of this video is "Why Does China Feel as Though They Have Leverage in This Trade War?" And I thought that it'd be, quite interesting to kind of explore that reality because when you think about it, the United States has the largest economy in the world. China has the second largest economy in the world. So this trade war definitely, is having its effects on people, um, one way or the other. The stock market up and down, the whole nine. But by us not really, you know, exporting as many goods into China or importing as many goods into China, nowhere near that they import here in America, one would think that they make way more money off of us than we do them. So it would be no brainer by now. I thought that they would have been sitting at the table. But there are a couple of reasons why they they feel as though they have leverage that I found. And I'd like to share that with y'all. Before I just want to show you the effects that this trade war has been having on people in China. So without further ado, let's bring a video up because it has been increasing, a lot of things and the prices over there affecting the small business owners in China. We already see what it did to the stock markets out here in America. But let's get into this.
Will take effect starting tomorrow and called President Trump's tariffs a, quote, joke in the history of the world economy. But as KTV's Janet Katsuyama reports tonight, for many people and businesses, the trade politics are translating into real-life pain.
Karen Fong owns 3 restaurants in Oakland's Chinatown and has had to increase her prices as the Trump administration's tariffs on China take effect.
Some of the things it's already increased 50%. Yes. And then they call me maybe next month, they will increase 100%.
Fong says if the 145% tariffs on China continue, she might not be able to survive and would need to consider closing down because she isn't making profits.
Maybe 3 months. Because I have a lot of employees.
Once the wholesale price is increasing, they have to pass it back on to the retail. And the retail, in order to survive, they have to pass it back on to the consumers. So we are seeing that the domino effect, most of the
like this man just said, now they over there in China, they feeling the effects of the tariffs that Trump put on. I think we at 145%. So you would think that, by now China would be trying to come to the table because, the small businesses in China are suffering. Like you said, it's a domino effect. They hit them with high tariffs. It goes down to the business, and then they have to pass that down, those taxes down to the consumer, up 50% to 100% on goods and services. That's crazy. So it make you wonder, like, why would they continue to keep going back and forth, knowing that they are in a losing war with this trade war? You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let this finish out a little bit.
The consumers are paying for it.
China's announcement Friday that it will hike their tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 125% is in response to the Trump administration's 145% tariff now on Chinese imports.
We are in uncharted territory here in the sense that these levels of tariffs we haven't seen in 100 years.
Matilda Bombardini is an economics professor at UC Berkeley Haas School of Business. She says China's actions will hurt its own economy.
They need imports from the U.S. as well on certain machinery, pharmaceutical, airplanes they don't produce yet.
The Port of Oakland says stakes are high as many agricultural products go overseas and goods from China come in through Oakland. Bombardini says there is good reason for the U.S. to address certain Chinese industries.
Now, you see this right here? This is the industry I was just in. And it kind of explains why I had to pivot. This is the intermodal industry. Well, all the goods and services come from overseas on containers. Like you see the trains, when they go by, they got the containers on the carts. Those are what I used to go take from the rail yards, pick up the containers, and go deliver to customers, all over the state or the country, but out here in the Midwest. But at some point, it got horrible, about 2 or 3 years ago. In the midst of the Biden-Harris administration, majority of these containers come from China, and places like that, because we import so much of their goods. They send us cheap material. It's just at a lower rate, and then they don't pay their workers much of nothing but slave labor. So if we, a lot of people say, hey, I'm gonna get my stuff made in China. A lot of businesses get their stuff made in China, but what it does, all right, you get it at a lesser price, but you're getting a worse quality, so you saving money, but your quality is bad. And then you're outsourcing jobs that could be built right here in America, where you could just pay the little extra couple dollars for a better quality. And also on the Patriot level, you building up your own backyard instead of sending jobs, manufacturing jobs over to China. And then we still got other countries that we can import from, but China just became our biggest trade partner. We really built them. We really built China, because at one point they were like a third world country not too long ago. Off of our economy, off of us outsourcing to them, they became this, world conglomerate. You know what I'm saying? Just to the point where we at this point now where we're in a trade war with them, and all we're asking for is fairness and objectiveness. Hey, you tariff us 33%, reciprocal tariff, we're going to tariff you 33%. Although we purchase majority of your goods, it's just crazy. We just trying to level out the playing field, because if we don't do this right now, China going to be ruling us, man. we got to stand up.
The Chinese government has sort of subsidized a lot of industries, and these subsidies are not really allowed under the WTO, the World Trade Organization rules. These industries that are like AI, supercomputing, artificial intelligence sort of tools in general.
Bombardini says these sweeping tariffs without negotiations is damaging to both economies. And she says China's leader is sending a message by not backing down.
Xi Jinping has invested a lot in creating a very strong sense of national pride, and I think that's what has created support for him. And so this is a sign of strength. They're doing it to make the point that they are responding to these tariffs that have very little sort of economic motivation.
Man, so you heard what she said, like he feel like he got to do this as a sign of strength, and I think Xi Jinping, the president of China, and the president of Trump, I said the president of Trump, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, they both operating from a standpoint of pride in their nation, pride in their people, which is respectable. You know what I'm saying? Which is respectable. They feel like they, trying to do the best for them. We trying to do the best for us. So we just going to see where the chips lay.
There is a lot at stake for the Bay Area. The Port of Oakland says that China represents 29% of total trade that comes through the port. Reporting from the newsroom, Jana Katsuyama, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Well, there is at least one industry hoping to benefit from the tariffs. That is shrimp fishing. Shrimpers on the Gulf Coast say cheap imports from countries like Ecuador, India, Indonesia, and Vietnam continue to drive down local demand. Between 2021 and 2024, the U.S. spent between $6 and $8 billion a year on shrimp from other countries, making it the top seafood import. In 2023 alone, U.S. seafood imports were more than $20 billion higher than seafood exports.
We're hoping again that with these tariffs, maybe, that'll turn things around. I mean, that's the only thing we got to hang our hat on right now.
We're becoming extinct right now. We were over 20,000 commercial fishermen in 2000, and 25 years later, we're down to about 4,000.
Wow. So, hey, man, what about that? You gotta love that, man. One industry thriving, the fishermen out there, they say we about to get to the bag, because they would normally be shopping with people overseas, but now they forced to shop with us because of the tariffs. And it's gonna be some, industries that's they're gonna benefit from it, and some people are gonna feel the brunt of that situation. But as you can see, world leaders and what's going on in these politics has a direct effect on us. And for us to think any different is insane, because we're seeing it right before our eyes. And like I said, we not gonna feel it like them people over there in China are gonna feel it as far as these tariffs directly. Now, we might see the stock market be altered, but the things that we get from China, we can get other places. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to let y'all know, it's particular reasons why China feel the way that they feel like they have some leverage over us. And one of the reasons that they feel like they have some leverage over us is because they own, in recent time, they've been buying up farmland in America next to, check this out, next to our military bases. So, we'll get into this.
How?
Look at this map that I did a show about this. The red is where Chinese government has funded buying major farmland. Yeah. And then superimposed on that are some of our most strategic military.
Shout out to A Righteous Perspective is the content creator as well. But see, where you see the red at, that's farmland that China has bought over here in America. Now, I know y'all heard me say this on previous videos that China owns farmland in America, but this is concerning because these are next to a lot of our military bases, and they're going to break this down.
Military bases. Yeah. And you can see there's Dugway Proving Ground. That's military equipment, biological, chemical weapons. They're surrounding it. Utah Test Training Range, the largest supersonic authorized restricted airspace in the United States. Whiteman Air Force Base, B-2 Spirit Stealth Bomber Base, missile drone operations, MQ-9 Reaper, Global Strike Command 3, Fort Liberty, Airborne Special Operations Forces, Rapid Deployment. We've allowed them to come in and buy up agricultural land, wind farms, no wind, no blades on some of the towers, but they're surrounding our military bases. Right. We've allowed that to take place.
That is unfathomable. Seriously. We've allowed a foreign nation to come in and buy up property around our military installations. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And we wonder why they feel like they got leverage. See, it's deeper than what you see. You know what I'm saying? On the stock market tip, that's nothing. We can fix that. Trump did that just like that. Hey, I'm gonna walk you down. You know what I'm saying? How you go back and forth with this trade war. That's the pretty side of things. This is the real grit. They actually own farmland next to our military base. And this is one thing that I would say that they feel as though they have some type of leverage over the United States.
Ridiculous. And the fact that no one's actually talking about it, no one's actually, screaming from the rooftops that this is a full-fledged national security situation, that in itself scares the heck out of me. And you got these daggone Democrats that want to take your weapons from you. I don't think people understand that China is not an ally. They are a trade partner, but they are not an ally. They are not.
Thank you. Bam. They are not an ally. They are not a friend. They're a trade partner. At any time, it could be up with China.
A friend. China is at best an associate, nothing more. If they could knock our heads off, they would, and they would probably do it in a heartbeat. They're waiting on us. They're waiting on a weakness. They're waiting on us to fall so weak that they can come in and take over, maybe even take over without having to fire a single shot.
Thank you. You know, we can leave that right there. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, man, it's about world dominance, man. And y'all playing games, talking about y'all staying with China. China don't fool with you. If they could take over your land, they would. You know what I'm saying? So we need somebody like Donald Trump in office that's not going to be, you know, backing down from them and showing our leverage as well. But that's one of the reasons why I believe they feel as though they could go back and forth with us in the trade war. Like, we got farmland that we own in the United States next to all y'all military bases. What kind of mess is that? Who is responsible for that? Who sold the country out? Now that we know this, because it wasn't Trump, was it the Biden-Harris administration? I mean, the Biden-Harris administration did a lot of selling out, man. To China, to Ukraine, to Venezuela. I mean, God, that's why people that don't have legal citizenship here feel like they could protest in our country, man. But yeah, that's one reason that China feel as though they got some type of leverage over us. Another reason that I find, and that's concerning enough. I mean, if you got farmland all over our country, right next to our military bases, what is that about? You know what I'm saying? And another thing is that they feel as though they provide us with certain minerals that we get, I guess, at a lower rate than we would anybody else. So, yeah, let's bring that up here.
The tit-for-tat tariff dispute continues without pause between the world's two largest economies.
As you all know, the president just put out a statement announcing an additional tariff on China. The tariff on China will now go up to 125% because China imprudently decided to retaliate against the United States. And as I said at the podium yesterday, when you punch at the United States of America, President Trump is going to punch back harder.
On Truth Social, Trump said the new measure was, quote, based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world's markets. It comes after Beijing said it was imposing an 84% tariff on U.S. goods in retaliation and vowed to, quote, fight to the end in an escalating trade battle with Trump. The U.S. insists that the tariffs are necessary to revive its manufacturing and maintains that the blame for the escalation lies on Beijing.
Well, I'm not calling it a trade war, but I am saying that China has escalated, and President Trump responded very courageously to that, and we are going to work on a solution with our trading partners.
Beijing says the U.S. is making a mistake and that it has filed a complaint to the Geneva-based World Trade Organization over the measures.
The Chinese people cannot be denied their legitimate right to development, and China's sovereignty, security and development interests must not be infringed upon. We will continue to take strong measures to safeguard our legitimate rights and interests.
The World Trade Organization has warned that rising tensions between the U.S. and China could see bilateral trade plummet by as much as 80%, and that the conflict could damage the global economic outlook.
Okay. So with that being said, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to stop that. That's just kind of like a brief overview of what's going on, you know what I'm saying, to bring you up to speed. When we come back, what I'm going to do is show you where the mineral aspect of things come into effect. So let's do a countdown, and when I come back, I'll have that loaded up for you.
From China.
Well, for more, I'm joined now by Gracelyn Bascaron. She's director of the Project on Critical Minerals Security at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. It's good to have you back on the program. China, as we heard, has a stranglehold on these rare earths. How damaging to the U.S. are China's export curbs? Who do you think will suffer the most?
Thanks so much. It's great to be back. So the first thing we need to acknowledge is, there's 17 rare earths, and China has strategically targeted 7 of them. These are primarily heavy rare earths. And the difficulty is that China processes about 99% of heavy rare earths. So they have a very, very dominant share here. These heavy rare earths are really important for various defense technologies. Dysprosium and terbium are used in our permanent magnets that are used in aerospace and defense applications. Some of the other heavy rare earths are used in cancer treatment, MRI scanners, et So it's pretty significant. Now, the difficulty we face in the U.S. it actually predates a little bit to December 2023, when we...
Y'all heard that they got rare earth minerals over there that assist us with a lot of different things that we use for our cell phones, things we use for cancer treatment. They got rare earths that minerals, that we use for a multitude of reasoning here in the United States. So China feels as though, hey, we cut these rare earths off, or if we tax you into oblivion for these rare earths in the form of tariffs, hey, you're going to back down because you need these not only for health reasons, not only for things like your laptops and your cell phones and computer chips to put in your car so they can, operate efficiently. We are going to either cut that off, or we are going to tax you into oblivion for these rare earth minerals. So this is why China feels like they have leverage. This is the second thing that I saw. Outside of the stock market going up and down and stuff like that, China's strength is in these rare minerals, and the fact that what I said earlier before we left on that break, they own farmland in the United States, all over the country, right next to our military bases. That's strange. I think that an investigation needs to be launched into those farmlands across the United States that are next to our military bases. But let's continue.
When we actually were banned in terms of China stopped sending processing technology for rare earths out. So it's pretty significant. Now, what's important is that this isn't a full-out ban. What China has done is they've created a runway. So when we think about types of export restrictions, the mildest is non-automatic licensing, where we have to apply to be able to get a license to export. Then we have quotas, tariffs, and a full-out ban. This isn't a ban. It's actually on the mildest end, which is requiring these companies to get the license to export. What it also gives room for is if the trade war continues to escalate, China has significant room to tighten those restrictions, and there aren't any major processing facilities yet built. They're currently under construction to separate rare earths elsewhere.
Yeah, you bring me to my next question then. I mean, let's assume that a tightening does take place. I mean, where else would the U.S. be able to get these very valuable materials and get them refined?
So there's a few places we can get materials. For example, Brazil, one of the places the U.S. government is looking to finance.
Okay. So this is why Trump feels as confident as he does. They about to get into that. You know what I'm saying? Because, see, China got to understand is this. You're not the only one that has those rare earth minerals. Now, with this, she just mentioned Brazil. That's one. Remember when all those 75 countries started to want to make the deal when China didn't want to? See, that was the overplay for the underlayers, they like to say. You know what I'm saying? You can't let your left know what your right hand is thinking type, playing chess type move. You know what I'm saying? So China, y'all really think this mineral, not the whole thing with the farmland, and if you go back in this video, that's serious. This mineral thing, that's not that serious. Because we can outsource. You might have to pay a couple extra dollars, but we probably get a better product. And then we build up relations with other nations. So we don't necessarily need you for these rare minerals. This is why I feel China feels as though that they, have some leverage over us. But let them finish cooking right quick.
A heavy rare earth project is the Serra Verde project in Brazil. The difficulty is, mining, I always say, it's a long-term effort, and we just started building our heavy rare earth separation facility in Texas in the last couple of years, and we're also supporting the development of a facility in California, but those aren't going to be online in the next 30 days or few months. So, managing this relationship with China is particularly critical because until we get those facilities online, there's not a good alternative for some of our heavy rare earths.
I know in a recent article, you say that the U.S. has come too late to the critical minerals game. From a security perspective, I mean, this has to be a huge vulnerability, especially right now.
It's a significant vulnerability and one that we've known was coming for a long time. Remember that China first restricted rare earth exports to Japan over a fishing trawler dispute in 2010, but it really was upwards of another decade before we acted. So we're very cognizant that it's a critical vulnerability, and that's why you've seen President Trump make rare earths a very prominent part of foreign policy discussion, whether it's Ukraine or Greenland or, the financing we're doing in Brazil.
I know that there's been a lot of talk about these rare earths in Ukraine, the U.S. wanting that deal. There's, I understand, some disagreement on whether Ukraine even has large deposits of rare earths. I mean, what do we know?
So the mapping for a lot of these minerals in Ukraine was done 30 to 60 years ago by the Soviet Union. And the former director of the Ukrainian Geological Survey has come out and said that there's actually no modern mapping of rare earths. Remember that rare earths aren't actually rare. It's a little bit of a misnomer. They're all over. The real question is, are they economically viable in terms of the size and our ability to access them? And we simply don't have that amount of data.
So that's all it's about is, being economically, legible. You know what I'm saying? Like we China was giving it to us at a certain price. If we could get it at somewhere around about that price, then everything else is, it's not even worth the conversation on that. But yeah, man, I just wanted to bring that video to y'all. So 2 reasons why China feels as though they have any type of leverage in this trade war is be due to the farmland that they own, which is insane, and these rare earth minerals. But you know what I'm saying? Appreciate y'all coming through, chopping it up with your boy. You know what I'm saying? Voices for the voiceless. You know what I'm saying? We love y'all. It's your boy Jay Taylor. And we'll talk to you soon. All right. Peace and love.